All right, awesome. Hey, everyone. So we're back, and before we jump into our next panel, I wanted to take this moment to introduce our next speaker, visiting us from South Carolina, Dr. Amy Firestone, who may know a little bit about workforce and workforce development. So I'll read a snippet of Dr. Firestone's bio here. So Amy Firestone is a national workforce and apprenticeship leader. She was previously the vice president of Apprenticeship Carolina for the South Carolina Technical College System. In that role, she led a multidisciplinary statewide team in expanding youth and adult apprenticeships across all industries. Under Dr. Firestone's leadership, Apprenticeship Carolina obtained over $19 million in apprenticeship grant funds from the United States Department of Labor. Dr. Firestone was also chosen for and participated in the prestigious Fulbright Specialist Grant to advise the Chamber of Commerce in Colombia, South America, on developing apprenticeships. Dr. Firestone has led the Department of Labor's Registered Apprenticeship College Consortium, consisting of more than 400 colleges nationwide, and led the nation's youth apprenticeship policy development. And by the way, she also published a book on urban youth in Peru, and is fluent in Spanish and has studied 11 foreign languages. So thank you so much, Amy, for joining us today.
Thank you so much,
hear
Carlos.
Dr. Firestone, please.
Thank you.
So there's been a lot of chat and rhetoric and conversation about apprenticeships. Does anyone in the audience know how an apprenticeship works? Does anyone know how an apprenticeship works?
See any hands?
Does anyone know how an internship works? Way more common thing, and a lot of times people confuse an internship and apprenticeship. Can you give us an apprenticeship 101?
Sure. For just like those young stars that were just on stage, a lot of them have aspirations to get career experience while they're going to school. So internships are commonly, experiences where you work for a company for a summer, maybe for spring break, and sometimes you're paid, sometimes you're not. But an apprenticeship program is really unique. It is a earn while you learn program, so you're getting a paycheck guaranteed, you're going to school, and you're getting on-the-job experience with a company. You're also getting college credits, a lot of different industry credentials, and opportunities for a full-time job, which an internship usually does not give you.
So you've had some experience with some large workforce programs, including apprenticeship. Can you share a little bit about some of these efforts?
Definitely. So I worked at the U.S. Department of Labor in Washington, D.C. on working with colleges and universities around the United States on developing apprenticeship companies with companies, big companies, just like BMW, Boeing, Microsoft, but also with small businesses such as restaurants, insurance companies, helping them look at what their critical workforce needs are and looking at that disconnect. Just like the youth who were on stage who said, I'm looking for this in a company, or I'm looking for a company that has diversity, I'm looking for a company that has professional development. Well, companies are looking for them, but they can't find each other.
So one of the comments from one of the students was, and I wrote it down here, all I know is that I don't know anything. And that was interesting to hear, right? This idea of being comfortable with kind of not necessarily being an expert at something, but being ready to take on the content and the experience. Can you talk a little bit about how companies are rethinking their workforce development strategy?
Well, many companies know that people are coming to them with no experience. Maybe they've studied a concept in college or in high school, but they don't have that on-the-job learning experience. So an apprenticeship program allows somebody to come in with no experience in that company or in that profession at all, and helps them grow from the ground up, learning to be fully proficient in whatever their occupation is. It could be a software developer, it could be a chef, it also could be a CNC operator. There are over 1,000 occupations that somebody can be an apprentice in, and having no experience, going to 100% proficient and earning at least $77,000 per year just from this 1 to 3 year or longer program is what you can get out of an apprenticeship.
So in our work in training teachers and working with the community, we've landed in the space of realizing that employers need some support, not only around bandwidth, but apparently there's some major funding also available to help employers take on apprentices. Can you talk a little bit about that funding and what's available?
Definitely. So most states, no matter if you're in Florida, South Carolina, New York. There is a lot of funding to make your tuition completely free while you do an apprenticeship program. In addition to that tuition, so the company doesn't have to pay for your tuition, your parents don't have to pay for that tuition, there's also a lot of stipends available so apprentices can help pay for their gas to get to the job, help them pay for childcare expenses and other needs they might have. There's also money to help subsidize wages in some states, and also to provide other staff resources. So staff in the company have extra time to help work with those apprentices. So there's a lot of funding out. Right now there's about, I think, $160 million out there for states and other organizations to apply for to help grow apprenticeship programs.
So we're looking at kind of like the two sides. We're looking at the employer lens and what's available for them to kind of initiate apprenticeship programs. And a lot of times people, when they hear the term apprenticeship, outside of Europe, because there are many countries that run pretty successful and robust apprenticeship programs, there's still a lot of companies that are saying, how do I begin one? What do I do? That's the one side. The other side are the folks who are who were just up here that are graduating college and are looking for experience, as you've mentioned. In thinking about employers, what are some of the other benefits, or what are some benefits that traditionally come to employers outside of just the funding in terms of it being a pipeline strategy?
Definitely. So if you're a company out there or you're looking to work for a company out there, imagine if you were one of those young people who are just on the stage. You are committed. You really want to go to work for a company that's going to help you grow. Well, companies, if they invest in registered apprenticeship programs, that is training somebody with little to no experience, there's a 93% chance, an opportunity for that person to stay, which means that you're not wasting time training somebody with no experience, but you're actually helping them move into a full-time role, so the return on investment is significant. In South Carolina, where I was the vice president of apprenticeships, there's a $1.41 return on investment for every dollar a company invested, and apprentices were found to stay 3.5 years longer than the average employee hired. So there are numerous benefits for companies in terms of employee retention, helping reduce turnover that many companies are facing in every single industry. And we all know that from sitting in restaurants, waiting for people to help us, or waiting for a package to come, right? There's just not enough people everywhere to meet the demands.
So employers can get funding. There's proven research that apprentices stay on the job, they're loyal, they contribute to the economy. What's the catch? What's happening? Where's the hiccup where we're not seeing the traction develop that we should see, at least locally, but through a regional, national perspective? What seems to be some of the larger challenges?
Well, some of the challenges are really just getting started. Many companies actually do have robust training programs, but maybe they have some gaps. Maybe they're not providing that linkage to the full-time employment. Maybe they're kind of like internships where somebody has a great summer experience, but then they're not retained. So a registered apprenticeship, really investing in it from a company's perspective, the time and energy to put together a very structured program that has a minimum number of requirements for on-the-job training and classroom time, really ensures that you're taking that time to invest in the person and in the program, because a lot of other programs can fall through the cracks. They're not long-term. They don't provide a U.S. Department of Labor credential like the apprenticeship program provides. So it's just a little bit more time, Carlos, and energy, but the payoff is significant, and it's a program that can be changed and customized at any moment in time. So it does take a lot of extra time on the front end and staff time to really invest in training other staff to work with apprentices. How do you work with an apprentice? How do you work with a high school student who's an apprentice? It does take extra time, but the investment does show in the data to pay off across the board.
So here in Miami-Dade County Public Schools, in partnership with some local colleges, run some really incredible pre-apprenticeship programs in cybersecurity, help desk. What are some of the other IT sector apprenticeship programs that you're aware of?
Sure. So in South Carolina, we helped build the first software developer apprenticeship program that is a registered apprenticeship in which all of the apprentices, male and female, these are all people who have gone to college but could never find employment as a software developer. So what they did is through Build Carolina, which my team helped supported with the process, we made them become a registered apprenticeship sponsor, which is an organization that leads apprenticeships. And what they did is they're on their third cohort in just a little over a year, helping place through the apprenticeship program people who are working remotely in IT sector jobs in software development specifically. So it is a great way to look at underrepresented communities and help meet them where they're at, especially with remote opportunities, but in their own state, so they can still be at home with their children and help meet other needs they have.
Awesome. Well, we're coming down to time, but the rumor is that you're heading into another perspective now. I'd love to hear what that might be about.
Yes, so I've had the great honor and opportunity to be the first vice president of apprenticeships for South Carolina. I was also here in Miami at Miami-Dade College, but I'm going to be moving back to my home. I moved back already to Washington, D.C. to work with USDA on workforce development programs for the whole nation. So I hope to see each and every one of you in some way, shape, or form and help grow apprenticeships for your companies and also for your communities, because we see that they work.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amy, for joining us today.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate it. Let's
Carlos.
hear it for
Thank
Dr.
you.
Amy Firestone.
Thank you.